Hi everybody, it's Marcy and Chunk again from Chunky Knitted Creations. Today I'm going to teach you how to make the popular herringbone stitch blanket. It is one of my favorites, and I actually have one on the back of my couch because I just love the herringbone stitch. So one thing I want to tell you about it is that you want to knit it tight because it stretches. A chunky yarn stretches. I say this in every one of my videos. And the herringbone stitch looks really nice when it's knitted tight. Some people think that if they knit it too tight in the beginning, it doesn't look good, but just give it a little time to stretch out. I'll show you a very first blanket that I made of a herringbone stitch that I've had on the back of my couch and been using it and covering up with it for about a year now. So it started out looking really nice, like this matching pillow that I did. So this is the knit stitch, and then in the middle you can see I did a herringbone stitch, and that's how it should look. But on the blanket, it decided to stretch because I used it so much. So this is the matching blanket that I made. If I can get it stretched out here for you all on camera. As you can see, look at all the holes. Okay, and I'll show you on the rest of the blanket too. It just from hanging and from, you know, everybody using it and tossing it around, it has kind of stretched out. It's still a nice looking blanket. And if you like it loose like that, then just go ahead and knit it a little looser than what I'm showing you in the video. Okay, I'm going to get set up with my Chunky Knitted Creations yarn, and depending on the size of the blanket that you want, is going to determine how many skeins you will need. I do have, in the Chunky Yarn Blanketeers group, I have a pinned post that shows an estimate of how many skeins you will need for each size of blanket. So if you go there and request to join the group, answer the group questions, it'll let you in automatically, and you should be able to figure out how many you need for what size blanket you want. And hopefully you guys can hear me better now. I know my last few videos was a little rough, but I'm just getting started here and getting set up with equipment. And I got me one of these nifty microphones, so I'm sure it's quite loud, and you might even actually have to turn me down this time. So we're getting there. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so let's get started on our herringbone blanket. You will need your scissors, of course, your trusty lighter of choice. I always have two, just in case one runs out. And for this one, I really recommend that you start with measuring your stitches just to make sure, because you really do want them all to be exact with the herringbone stitch. And I'm also going to show it to you in two different colors so that you can learn how to do color changing. Sorry, let's not use Chunk. He's the same color as the yarn I was going to use. I almost grabbed Chunk and started knitting away with him. I'm sure he would not like that. Okay, so we will use my medium gray color and my ivory so that you can see how to switch colors on a blanket and how to switch on a herringbone and to get it to look even. So just start casting off the same way you would a regular blanket. Cast off for every blanket that I know of is the same, or casting on, I'm sorry. It's late, it's been a long day. I've knitted a lot, made a lot of tutorials today. So casting on is the same. So just leave a little bit of a tail. I'm going to just do a small swatch for you so that you can see the whole thing. I'm not going to do an entire gigantic blanket and make this another hour-long tutorial and bore you guys to death. So let's just cast on. It can be in any even or odd number with the herringbone stitch. Some of your more complicated blankets, you're going to have multiples of 2, multiples of 4, things like that. And then it's up to you if you want to skip the end stitch and make the braided border. I do that on every blanket that I have, so we're going to do that my way, but you don't have to. Okay, so let's just cast on until I get it to about this width, and we'll see how much it is. All right, so let's just practice with the cast on stitches. Make a ribbon, okay, like that. Squeeze it here, pick it up, grab the back, or grab the working yarn, pull it through the hole. Grab the piece that you're pulling through the hole, okay? Grab those two bottom pieces and pull tight, okay? You got a gigantic loop. You don't want that, so let's make it smaller. Now, with the herringbone, you do want to make big cast-on stitches so that it doesn't bow out. So let's do 3 fingers, okay? And we're going to cast on until I get to about the width of the camera. So if you're all ever wondering, how many cast-on stitches do I need for a 40-inch blanket? I tell everybody in the group that that is different for everybody. So what you do is you just keep casting on stitches like this, lay it out, measure it until you get to 40. And if you keep your stitches loose here, it will stay that size. because blankets tighten up as you go. And if you make them really tiny here, it's going to bow out and your blanket's going to get bigger than your cast on row. So it will actually start to fill these big loose stitches in as you go. And again, if you're making a huge, like king, queen, or king size, do 4 fingers. Make them gigantic. If not, your blanket's just going to curl up on the bottom and bow out, and you're going to be so sad that you went through all that work. But I'm going to make a video that shows you how to tear apart the cast on row if that happens to you and you're devastated and you don't want to take your blanket apart, or you just don't want to put up with it looking like that. There is a way to take off your cast on row after you've completed a blanket. All right, let's see how many we've got. I want to make it decent sized enough to show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, my last one was a little too big. I don't like it big, gaping big on the end. So let's actually make it 11 in case I can't use the knot. Okay, so I'm going to flip it over just like I did in the beginning blanket tutorial. And again, so you have your parts of your stitch. This is the top of the stitch, the little bump is the middle, and this is the bottom of the stitch. So we are going to use the middle bumps as usual. All right, so there's one. Your hanging stitch here is going to be your end stitch. Then you pull through the first bump carefully, not to pull this one out. Sometimes that pulls out on me and I just can't get it, so I just skip and go to the next one. It's okay to skip this first one if you want to and go to the next one. Your blanket will still look nice and square on the end. All right, actually, I'm going to pull this back out. You want to make these stitches just the right size. Okay, so I would say about 2 finger widths, because what we're going to do is turn them and pull stitches through them. That's how you do the herringbone. So normally a small stitch would be like you can only fit 1 finger through it, but small for herringbone is still, you know, just about 2 fingers. Because I believe I did bigger than that on the other one. So let's make it just barely 2 fingers and fit through each one. Okay, knit, pull through just barely 2. You'll get a little extra room when you lay it down and pull them, because this is loose. Okay, let's make it 2. And then if you want, you can like test it and say, okay, this is, as you see on the next row, I'm going to be twisting these and pulling loops through. So let's test and see if it's big enough. You can turn this one sideways and pull through. And if I've got enough room, yep, I sure do. Okay, so then you know that your stitches are big enough, or just the right size. And just to show you what they measure at, these stitches are measuring just barely 2 inches, about 1 3/4 of an inch. Should be good. And I don't measure every stitch with the measuring tape. I just measure it against the previous stitch. All right, we have so much hair in my house between me and my daughter with our long, thick hair. And then we have a Persian cat that's Persian and Himalayan. So if you see me constantly picking at my yarn, it's because I'm used to making blankets for customers, and I don't ever want to hand a customer a blanket with one of my hairs in it, or a cat hair or something. It's just disgusting to me. I'm sure they would not appreciate that. So I'm constantly picking at my yarn like this as we go. It's not that there's strings in it or anything like that, because I would kill my manufacturer if he did that. I'm just kidding. I really have a great company and a great relationship with them, and they make beautiful yarn for me. And they put up with me. All right. So let's see how we're looking here. Try to flatten this out. All right. My ball yarn out of the way. Got my flopping end stitch here. All right. Good to go. So just start off like you would a regular blanket. And then I usually don't skip my end stitch on my first round. Let me just pull these out a little more. I usually knit my end stitch on the first round. I don't know why I do that. It's just my habit and it works good for me. So I'm going to knit this one. Okay, so with the herringbone, whatever direction you're going in, so I just knitted this way. Now I'm going to knit to my right. That's what direction you're going to twist your stitch. So you're going to grab the top of this stitch and twist it that way, okay? So let's do this again without my hand in the way. Grab that stitch and twist it that way. Hold on to the part that's twisted and then get a hold of your loop and pull your stitch through, your next stitch through, and make it the same size as you did all of these, okay? So for me, it was just about 2 fingers. I'm gonna make this one tighter than I did that other one that I ruined. Well, didn't ruin. Okay, so as you can see, it kind of doesn't show up until you get through a few rows, but it's going that way. All right, so then we're gonna grab this next stitch and do the same thing. Grab the top of the loop and turn it that way. And don't let it twist back. Make sure that you hold your stitches close together. I'm just trying to get this close to the camera for you. If I have too much gap between them, I'll undo it. All right, and pull one through, okay? So let's try to lay this flat and do it now. I want to make sure that they're the right size. So sorry, I'm constantly moving my working yarn around. Supposed to keep it on the opposite side of you. All right, so I did those two. That out of the way. Don't accidentally knit your tail in like I almost did. Grab that next stitch. I'll see if I can do it left-handed. Twist it. I'm trying to make it to where my hand's not blocking it for you. Twist and hold. Grab this one. Hold them tight together so there's no gap between the stitches. Pull through. Make sure they're the same height. Okay, next one. Twist it. Going that way. This is to my right. You're going to twist all these to the right. Okay, grab this one, pull out on it, because it gets kind of sucked into this cast on row because these stitches are so big, but they're going to tighten up in just after about 4 rows. Twist it to the right, pull through the top. The twist is going to be at the bottom of the stitch. Twist to the right, hold it, pull through. Always best to do this one on a table too. Twist to the right, pull through. Okay, lay them flat. They all look the same height. Grab your next stitch, twist it to the right, pull through. I knitted them tight, and when you twist, it makes them even tighter. Okay, grab this, pull through. Okay, that was a little bit bigger, but it's not going to hurt anything. Twist this one, pull through. All right, now your end stitch, you do not twist. Okay, it'll look weird, and you don't want a weird blanket. All right, I hope you guys get my sense of humor. I can be quite goofy sometimes, especially when it's this late at night. It's the only time when my household is settled down and I can actually enjoy my knitting, my soothing, chunky yarn. Okay, so now I am going to my left, which is probably your right because it's flipped, and I'm going to take that stitch that I just pulled through, the new stitch, and turn it to the left. I tried to choose the right color yarn to show off the herringbone stitch. Okay, to the left. I'll knit a few and then I'll show you. Grab this, twist to the left, hold on to it. After you've got it twisted, hold them close together and knit. Okay. Grab this one again, twist. Here, let's see if I can twist to the left and pull through the top of the loop. Okay. Grab this, twist to the left, and pull through. You can also, if I'm not close enough to the camera for you, just zoom in. When you're on YouTube, just, pinch and zoom in like that, and you'll be able to see my hands better. I'm going to start using my black table for the rest of them. Twist to the left. Because I'm going to the left, I'm going to twist to the left. I'm going to the right, I'm going to twist to the right. Kind of like a little dance. Twist to the left. And pull. You can see that we're starting to get that V shape. So it's going to end up going zigzag. Some people call this the zigzag stitch. But technical name is the herringbone. Just to the left. All right. Grab your stitch, twist to the left. Pull a new one through. Keep flattening it out. Make sure your stitches are the same height. I mean, a tiny bit of difference isn't going to affect anything, but you don't want a big, huge difference there. And twist. Okay, and twist to the left again. And this is where I'm going to skip my end stitch now. And twist to the left. All right, so now we're going to start twisting to the right. And, sorry, twist to the right. And pull through. Twist to the right and pull through. Okay. Flatten that out. Pause for a minute. Okay, next stitch, twist to the right. Pull one through. Grab your next stitch, twist it to the right. Grab the top of it. Sometimes it can get pretty hard to get these through, especially with this super fluffy yarn. There we go. Grab it, twist it to the right. You're just going to pinch the top of your stitch and turn it to the right. Pull your other one through. Just like you would, you pull through the same way you would a knit stitch. Get some more yarn here. And also when you're the first couple rows on this stitch, you don't even have to twist these two because it's going to end up being the row, your braided end. So, I mean, I do and it doesn't affect it, but if you want to, just don't, you can just not even twist this one when you first start. It's up to you. You have to just see what look you like the best. Twist to the right. Twist to the right. Twist to the right. And again, we're going to switch colors here in a second. Twist to the right. Okay, and see, since this one here, we just knit it because it's a sideways stitch. Okay, so that's what you can do on this end too, is just do a regular knit. Or you can twist it. It's up to you. You're still skipping the end stitch. It's still going to braid. All right, and let's twist to the left. Skip this one. Twist to the left. We'll do one more row with this color. And then we'll do a few rows with the ivory, and then I'll show you how to cast off. Twist to the right. Or I'm sorry, to the left. My left. Your right. We're going this, whatever way you're going, you're going to twist in that direction. Twist to the left. Show you again. See how it's starting to look, a zigzag. Grab your stitch, twist it to the left, and then pinch it so it doesn't twist back. This one's a little small. And then push it through. Check your sizes. See, that looks pretty tight, right? So that you can't see any gaps when you go like this. That's what you want, because it will loosen up a little bit. So knit it tight. Twist to the left, pull through, twist to the left. It really does not take much more time to make one of these than it does a knit stitch blanket, but it is a yarn eater is what we call it. Some stitches, because they're knitted tight and you're twisting them, it uses a lot more yarn. So the pinned post in my group that I was talking about that shows the estimate of how many skeins of yarn you'll need for what size blanket, that's based on the knit stitch, okay? So for like a 40 by 60 blanket, you might want to add 1 to possibly 2 skeins to that if you're going to do a herringbone. Okay, so here I'm going to just stop twisting that because it really isn't even necessary, and you'll get a braided border if you do that. So I did on the first one just because I wasn't dropping the end stitch, so I kind of wanted it to go along with it. And then when we're done and I weave this through, it's going to even all that out for me. Okay, so let's see. We've got a good amount of the gray. We're looking good here. I love this stitch. And if you ever decide to make different patterns on a blanket, say you want to do a panel of herringbone and then a panel of knit stitch or pearl stitch, just know that this one is going to be more narrow, this section with the herringbone. I did that on a blanket once and my blanket went okay, and that's because this just sucks in so much. So it's not really a great idea to knit the herringbone with another stitch unless you're going to do another stitch that's like a cable or something that pulls in like that too. Okay, so we're going to switch colors and I'm going to undo my last stitch because I like to switch colors one stitch before the end because I feel like it just gives me a better lineup. It won't on the other side, of course, because you didn't change colors over there, but I always switch colors one before the end so that most of mine line up, because it always looks like on the side when you have a two-tone blanket that you drop down a stitch with the color. So I cut just a tiny bit, about that much. Here's the back of my blanket. I cut just about that much, maybe, I don't know, half an inch behind the stitch. And get my fluffy, beautiful ivory. Your lighter color yarns like your ivories and whites are always going to be the fluffiest when it comes to yarn. Anything that's been heavily dyed, like a dark color, like black or gray, dark browns, they're just going to look a little flatter and a little, you know, maybe some of them might even look a little raggedy, but it's just from being soaked in so much dye. And after they've been unraveled for a while, they tend to fluff up pretty nice. Like, as you can see, Chunk, you know, he looks nice. He's nice and chunky. All right, so I cut this one. I gotta burn it together here. I'll use this later. Always try to find the inner core. I just touch it until I can feel the little thing poking out. Light that on fire. Again, you can light both pieces of yarn if you want. I don't find it necessary. I haven't had an issue with just burning one. As long as you squish where you joined, squish them two balls together of wax there, and then turn them sideways and squish them together really good too. Just squish it from all directions and massage that little hard ball of wax that you get there. There we go. And then give it a good tug. If it breaks, cut it and do it again. I always like really, really tug on mine as hard as I can to make sure that, again, if I'm gifting it or selling it, it doesn't happen to somebody. All right, so we switch colors. We're going to just do a knit stitch on this end. Okay. Make it decent. And all my working yarn over here. Now I'm going to my right, so I'm going to twist to the right. Twist. Pull through. You'll be able to see it a little better maybe with the white. Twist. Pull through. See, it looks just like a regular loop. Can't see the twist just yet because I'm actually twisting the gray yarn. So I'm twisting the gray this way. Yeah. As you can see on that pillow that I just showed you in the beginning, it kind of pulls in a little bit in the center because I did knit stitch and herringbone. But I wanted it to do that because I wanted it to hold the pillow cover that I made out of yarn in place. I found that with my knit stitch pillows, they stretch out over time and get loose and baggy, and it just, you know, it doesn't look right. So I decided to do that middle herringbone stitch, and it really holds in place. It's like it cinched it almost in the middle. All right, see, as we go, we're twisting the gray to the right, pulling through some white. Love these two colors together. I should have made a whole blanket. Twist to the right. And I said white, and it's ivory. I'm sorry. And my camera on this phone is really not good. I'm going to have to invest in a better camera because I can tell by looking at it that it's making it look white. The shirt that I have on is a really, like, very top color. It's not ivory, and it looks like it is. Okay, so just knit stitch the end, no twist, and skip it, going back this way. Now I'm going to grab the white and turn it to my left. Okay. And grab my working yarn, pull through, take this, turn it to the right, to the left. I'm so sorry. I'm getting myself mixed up because it's my left and your right. Just make sure you twist it in the direction that you're knitting. That's all you got to remember. It's not as complicated as that sounds. Pull through, twist. And you'll know if you messed up. You look back at your blanket and you won't have a zigzag. You'll have a and there's another pattern that's called the twist stitch, and it's the same exact thing, only you don't go in different directions. You twist them all in the same direction. So even if you're knitting this way, you still twist that way. Just twist everything to the right. And then you will have what's called a twist stitch. And you can even build that in as like a cable. Like you can do a blanket where you knit 2 rows of knit stitch and then do 2 rows of a twist. Just a simple twist, and it'll look similar to a cable knit. Call that the easy cable. And we will do cable knits next. I'm going to build my library up really big for you guys so that you don't have to go surfing YouTube and finding all these different patterns that you see in my group. I want to have them all in one place for us. All right, again, just knit stitch the end, knit it sideways so you've got that braid. I'll tighten this up at the end. It's actually, see all this is already getting a lot tighter than it was. It would tighten up more if this were a wide blanket. I did those 3-finger cast on stitches, which I didn't need to do because I'm only making this tiny little thing, but I just wanted to show you how big to make them. So normally by now, this would already be just as tight as this blanket if I was making something that was like 20 cast on. Okay, so now I'm going back to my right. I'm going to twist to my right. I'll do a couple more and then I'll show you how to cast off. Cast off is the same. I don't know that there's any different cast off for any different type of stitch. It's the same with every blanket. There are 2 ways to cast off a blanket. I can show you the other way if you guys want. Just ask in the comments and I'll show you the different cast off method. All right, turn to the right. Turn to my right. Grab my working yarn, push it through the back, up and out. That one's a little too loose. All right. Next stitch, twist it to the right. You'll get really fast at this too. It's just the same as, just takes me the same amount of time as it does a regular knit stitch. Grab the top, twist to the right, pull through. Okay, grab, twist to the right. We'll do 1 more row, going the other way, and then we will cast off. Twist to the right. The herringbone looks really good switching colors too. You don't get those dotted lines like you do with the knit stitch. When you switch from knit to purl, I'm sorry, you get like dotted lines. Sometimes we want those and sometimes we don't. Okay, we're going to go back in the other direction. So I'm going to move my working yarn on the other side of me so I don't get confused. All right, we're going to twist to the left. And since this is going to be my last row, I'm going to pretend this is the end of my blanket. I'm going to make these loops bigger because I'm going to use them to cast off. I'm not going to switch or knit them again. So I'm going to make them like 2 fingers big. That should be enough. Okay, but just so you can see how beautiful that is, if you made a whole blanket out of it, do the herringbone or... Okay, so again, we're still going to twist it because, we want our last zigzag, but we want to make them big stitches so that we have room to cast off. Okay. Another thing you can do as you get going, if you know this is going to be your last row, you can actually knit this twice so that it's not so far down. But it really is not going to make a huge difference if you don't. I generally try to remember to do that just so I don't have to bring it down when I cast off. All right, let's make the stir. Sure, these are still 2 fingers big and twist it to the left. Sorry, I'm getting all ahead of myself here. Hard to talk and concentrate. All right, so again, we're going to grab that and just twist it. Pull through 2 fingers, twist. Oh, I tried not to make this an hour long. And I'm sorry that I'm very chatty. It's just how I am. You can just put me on mute and watch. And then ask questions in the comments or in the group. Twist to the left. Okay. And since I know this is my cast off row, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and knit my end stitch twice. Just so it comes up high enough. If you want to, I'll just show you the difference of what it looks like. All right, so now we're at the end and we're going to cast off. When you're casting off, you want to make sure you have at least three to four widths of yarn. So you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, so that you know you'll have enough to cast off. You don't need that much to make a row. You only need 2.5. So if you're playing yarn chicken, like I call it, and you want to know, do I have enough for one more row? Take your yarn and measure it and see if you have 2.5 to 3, depending on how you knit lengths or widths of yarn. Okay, so just like the regular cast off, you're gonna grab 2 stitches and hold them together, facing each other. Pull the yarn behind it. Pull a loop through the side of those 2 stitches. Bring it out and across. Sorry, I'm gonna give you a better view. Pull it out and across to the next stitch. Hold them together. Push the working yarn through the hole. Pull it out the other side so that you're making another loop to attach to this one. Okay, make them long enough to come across so that you don't have your top of your blanket cinching together. Pull through. And it looks like this braid is coming across the top of your blanket, like facing out, but all you're gonna do is just go like that when you're done and it'll stay. And there you'll have your braided look all the way around. I can make a little placemat out of this or something. Or I like to give these test things to my niece to use as Barbie blankets or like My Life doll blankets. I've made a ton of those too, and sleeping bags, and scarves for her babies. She just loves it. I wish my daughter would have been little when I started doing this. We would have had a ball. Now she's old enough where she makes them herself. Her and my niece. Okay. So this was my last stitch, but I still have my end stitch hanging down here. Just grabbing and pulling a loop through 2 stitches is what you're doing. Okay. So now here's my last one. I'm going to bring it down here. Pull that through. If I can get a hold of it. Pull one loop through. And grab my scissors. Got a tail. Grab your tail. Put it through that last loop. Pull up and just tighten away. Okay. There you go. And then weave it through the side. Just grab it and push it through the side of a stitch. Pull it out. Weave it back through the next stitch. Okay. Like that. And then cut it and burn it to the side of one of these. You can burn to the side of a stitch. Don't worry about it because inside there is that plastic or whatever string that's inside there. So you just cut it and push the 2 together. And I do that a lot on plushies, but I'm going to probably take this apart because I don't like to waste yarn unless she likes it. And same thing down here. See how that's kind of looking funky? You're just going to grab that first slip knot, tighten it, weave it through, even out your blanket, grab the next stitch, weave it through. And this is kind of what a whip stitch is too. When I was talking about in my scarf video, how to add a pocket on top. There you go. Weave it back through as far as you want. Some people take their tail and weave it all the way up the side and they don't even cut and burn or do anything and it still stays, but I'm just going to sit that there for now. So look at that cute little baby herringbone blanket. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Again, like, subscribe, comment. Come join us at Chunky Yarn Blanketeers. Join in on all the fun. Links to my yarn and my scissors and all the other wonderful things that I use, I will put in the comments for you. And I hope you have a great day and that you learned a lot from this and that you will love the herringbone stitch as much as I do. Have a ball.